Darth Torden over on YouTube says, does Jeff know if anyone used their creative control card to sit home during this time to avoid booking/new regime? I, for one, loved WCW 2000, 2001, especially the New Blood era. Do you remember anybody using creative control in this era?
I mean, Brett, Hogan, Nash, they all, and I can't say they just threw the gamut down, but they all, to a certain degree, used it. Was my understanding. Now, was I, have exact knowledge? No, but when you write a show, let me just say this: Russo and Company writing a show. When you're writing a show and somebody on the paper on the list has creative control, that absolutely comes into your mindset, knowing I've got to go into a negotiation to have this discussion to get this guy to do that. That's why it's very, very difficult. And when you have two guys with creative control, forget about
it. Joe over on social says, I'm not going to lie, my world pod made me appreciate Double J a whole lot more. Now, when I get to see him on AEW, I give him a shot. How hard was it to get Jeff to do the podcast? I mean, I think I first started pitching Jeff about doing a podcast in 2017 around WrestleMania time. And then it was like 4 years later, we actually did one. Timing is everything. I think it happened the way it was supposed to.
Oh, for sure. And I am so glad we're off on this venture. A lot of fun. One of the highlights of my week, pal. No doubt about it.
Same with me, man. It's always fun to sit under your learning tree. I hope that we don't get a cease and desist.
Hey,
that trademark now.
Exactly.
Hey, Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash here. We're talking about creative control. They're going to go to a no contest with Kidman, Conan, and Rey Mysterio and Mike Awesome. Yeah, it's 2-on-4. Awesome joins the group, and Meltzer says it's because these old guys won't sell for guys that size all by themselves. Actually, they didn't sell at all, even 4-on-2. Finally, Hogan brawled with all four, not selling for any of them until they wore him out with a baseball bat and put him in the trunk of a car. Nash was distracted by a missile drop kick from Hoovy, but he powerbombed him. I'm not sure how this makes 5 guys into big stars. They tried to kidnap Hogan, but the Goldberg monster truck blocked them and Hogan with his magical powers. So I guess he saw the Houdini special and he escaped the trunk. Well, listen, escaping the trunk, I think here in America, that's easy. They put a little thing in there so you can just pull it and jump out if you find yourself accidentally locked in a trunk. You ever get locked in a trunk, Jeff?
I can't say that I've been locked in a trunk, pal.
What'd you think of this positioning, though? It's 2-on-4 or maybe 2-on-5. I mean, I hate to use language like this, but does that not kind of bury the 4 or 5? Or do you think that's not really fair?
It's not fair. I think they'd been better off if they were going this route to book Hogan and Nash. And I was Hogan's jacket, FUNB.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd forgotten he put that together. But in my opinion, you'd been better off to put Hogan and Nash against 2 guys, but end up having it no contest. Yeah, I mean, no defaults. No, yeah, run guys in and make them look like. But when you book it 5-on-2, it just to me it hurts the match. It doesn't help the heels or help the baby faces. The presentation, and then your new guy on the block, Mike Awesome, who's supposed to be this one-man wrecking crew. It didn't. Nobody got over out of this match, no matter how long or how short they went.
Now, the reason we're watching this is because the main event is Sting challenging you for the world title. So you're in the back going over your match with Sting here while this match is happening, I'm sure. And it brought up a question on YouTube from Lane Gibbs 267. He says, who's someone on the roster at the time that Jeff would have liked to work a program with, but didn't get to? Was there somebody here in WCW you would have liked to have worked with, but just never got the chance?
I mean, we've talked about it. Me and Rick never really got to play out our program. So, that goes back even to the 96 time. Well, that was a hell of a chair shot. Is there anybody, Eddie Guerrero was on this roster. Ray obviously was on the roster. I mean, we could go down a list. And, during 2000, I worked with Nash. I worked Hogan. I worked Sid, DDP, Steiner. But they all were, when I think of a program, I think of, at the very least, a 2-match series, if not a 3-match. When you kind of do one-offs, you're really doing 3 or 4 TVs and then a match. And I'm not sure, in my mind, if we're kind of making sure that we're comparing apples to apples, I call that a program. But it was what it was. But there's several folks that I'd like to have worked a program with through my time in WCW, both the first and the second time this time. But it wasn't the style, it wasn't the time, and it just didn't play out that way.
It's an interesting time as we see the filthy animals locking Hogan in a trunk, and they're going to try to speed away. And here comes the Goldberg monster truck. What'd you think of monster trucks in wrestling?
Well, it is the demos overlap. But I remember, so what you just saw right there was obviously backstage. I'm on the next segment. And I remember kind of, we're in the TWA Dome, folks. If you hadn't been there, it's where the St. Louis Rams used to play. It is a football. It's massive. It's absolutely huge. So when you have 6,000 people in there, you're in one corner, push way down in the corner. So the backstage area is enormous. But I remember all this going on and lots of moving parts. And the monster trucks, done in small doses. Yeah, I'm fine with it. But this goes to show you how hot WCW was, because they had a series of trucks that were on the monster truck circuit, a licensed program that WCW had with, I don't know if it was Phil, but whoever the monster truck promoters were. But yeah, Connie, this is all backstage, and here we go. Hogan, whoop, the Goldberg truck comes out in front of it. But
another little sponsored segment here. 1-800-CALL-ATT getting a spot right in the middle with the tie-dye NWO shirt. And then they're promoting their live events. Let's hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what AdFreeShows.com is all about. Get early ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? AdFree Shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that AdFreeShows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. AdFreeShows.com.